In the year 2018, a high-ranking Chinese spy sitting quietly in the lobby of a hotel in Brussels, Belgium, waiting for his meeting with an employee of General Electric Aviation, the world's #1 company in airplane engines. The Chinese spy is restless because in a matter of moments he will have access to highly protected information on how GE makes their rocket jet engines unmatched by competitors in the aerospace industry. But he was very surprised because instead of the GE employee he was talking to, the ones who surprised him were FBI agents so that he could be arrested and punished. How was he exposed, and what was the punishment imposed on him by America? This is the true story of the FBI's operation to arrest a Chinese spy who wants to obtain American technology so that China can use it for its own benefit. In October 2021, a history in the world of modern crime took place in a court in Cincinnati, USA. Because for the first time in a long time, a Chinese spy was caught in the act by the US and Belgian authorities in an attempt to smuggle sensitive information that could be an ingredient for China to completely defeat the USA in the field of global commerce. In 2017, the spy Xu Yanjun's information gathering plan began. It all started when a GE aviation engineer, Engineer David Zhang, received a private message on a professional social media site, LinkedIn, for a simple explanation. An aviation engineer is a type of engineer who builds aircraft. The message that Engineer David Zhang received was allegedly from an official of a university in Nanjing, China. If a normal person thinks about it, they might consider that message just spam, or they just read it indifferently. But the message that Engineer Zhang received was actually an invitation to give a lecture about his field of expertise, the aviation engineering in the said university. As Engineer Zhang continued to exchange messages with the identified university official, he was offered free accommodation by a school in Nanjing, fare, and professional fees in exchange for his lecture. When Engineer Zhang examined Nanjing University, one of the featured courses offered by the said university was aerospace science. And in the same year, 2017, at the company that Engineer Zhang works for, General Electric, he is currently among 10 selected aviation engineers to develop the most modern and high-achieving jet engine, the GE9X, for the Boeing 777X. That's what the Chinese government is trying to get, the formula, schematics, or any information on the trade secrets of GE, so they can copy the technology used by the US and other countries when it comes to the manufacture of other aircraft. The GE engine fan blades are known in the aviation sectors as the lightest and most reliable. In fact, GE's engine fan blades are ahead of their competitors in terms of performance and fuel efficiency. And in Engineer Zhang's mind, this is a good opportunity to raise his name and have a network outside the US in the field of aviation engineering. Not long after, Engineer David Zhang bit the trap of Xu Yanjun, who introduced himself as an official of Nanjing University. June 2017, Engineer David Zhang flew to China, thinking he would only give a lecture to aviation engineering students there. But upon arriving in China, he was subjected to some apparent interrogation in an office that identified itself as an official of the International Science and Technology Development of Aeronautics and Astronautics Department of a Chinese province. At first, Chinese spy Xu Yanjun used a nickname and introduced himself as Q-Wei. But what Engineer Zhang didn't know was that he wasn't talking to an academic or an official of any university. What he thought was a stranger who also loved the career they were pursuing was actually a disciple of the Ministry of State Security of China. China's Ministry of State Security, or MSS, is like the CIA in the US. This agency is responsible for that country's intelligence operations. And in fact, in 2017, 36-year-old Xu Yanjun was one of the mid-level spies in an MSS branch in China. According to the expert analysis of a former head of counterintelligence at the CIA, Jim Olson, Xu Yanjun was trying to recruit Engineer Zhang as an agent, using an espionage technique called tradecraft for easy explanation. One type of tradecraft is to go to an office of a mock office of an organization and pretend to be an official of such a group in order to obtain intelligence from the target person. And the CIA's former chief of counterintelligence added that the spy sent by China to steal sensitive information about GE's aviation engineering was too textbook or predictable. Since Jim Olson is also an instructor of CIA trainees, he explained well how the Chinese spy's move to contact engineer David Zhang became predictable. According to him, the spy's outreach begins with what seems to be an innocent invitation or hospitality. According to Jim, the spies will first use seemingly slippery words, such as "all expenses paid," and "your expertise will also be paid for." Looking at a normal person, there seems to be nothing wrong with the message that engineer Zhang received. But for the MSS and China, this is one of the most effective tactics used to get them the sensitive information they need. By the way, China is not looking for an unclassified lecture. What they want is GE's secret ingredient when it comes to the success of aviation engineering. As for engineer Zhang, he knew what he was going to do was against company policy. So when he was going to China to give a lecture, engineer Zhang sneaked in his leave and said he was going home to his family in China. Not only that, he even brought some company materials to complete his presentation. But because the material he smuggled is so sensitive, he still needs a license and approval from the US government to bring it to another country. And that's exactly what engineer Zhang did not do. In short, the GE employee smuggled highly classified information to China. When engineer David Zhang turned to the US, his bosses immediately summoned him, along with other FBI agents, to question him about what happened. When he revealed his experience, the FBI had to take over the communication between engineer Zhang and the Chinese spy Xu Yanzhen. And at this point, a spy is playing with another spy. The hook is hooked. The fight became China's Ministry of State Security versus America's FBI. The FBI agency believed Xu that engineer David Zhang is still in their conversation on a messaging app. As the conversation between the two parties continued to lengthen, it reached the point that Xu was already giving a signal with a seemingly innocent question regarding sensitive information about engineer Zhang's company, GE. Just one example is the Chinese spy sending a list of alleged materials and equipment that are not available in his country. According to the translated document retrieved from the messaging app, Xu asks what kind of software programs GE uses and what is the design structure that the company uses as a template in developing their products for aviation projects. Specifically, the materials and schematics of the fan and fan blade casing are where GE leads in the manufacturing of such products. And one of the spy's alarming requests was the laptop directory he was trying to get from engineer David Zhang. For easy explanation, a directory is a list of all the files that engineer David Zhang has access to. Those files are highly sensitive and classified because they contain information regarding the entirety of GE and the effort to gain access to engineer Zhang's laptop directory. The spy Xu even gave a step-by-step guide on how to access the directory and send him the information found there. The success enjoyed by American and European aviation companies is elusive in China. In fact, their feature plane, the C919, that they have to match the Boeing 737S, is all Canadian or European parts. In fact, using their spies, China is finding a way to have enough means to produce 100% Chinese-made aircraft that they can use to compete in the world. Another motive why Chinese spies are so eager to obtain sensitive information in the US is their Made in China 2025 platform. For easy explanation, this platform started in 2015 in China, aiming to make China #1 in advanced industries such as computers, telephones, electric vehicles, biotechnology, commercial aircraft, and others. In other words, China is directing its state power from commercial, academic, government, and military power to get hold of the technology they need to make their dream of Made in China 2025 successful. And for the Chinese spy Xu, he is just one part of China's larger mechanism to realize its ambitions. Fortunately, the FBI sent a fake laptop directory, and Xu immediately called, but the FBI did not answer. A few moments later, Xu messages engineer Zheng, who returns to China again to discuss the information they gathered and the alleged Chinese spy jackpot, which is just bait for the FBI to catch the fish swimming in their water. Although the FBI was positive about their target, although they can't catch the suspect in China, the FBI replied to Xu that it was as if engineer Zheng could not go to China because he had a business trip to Europe, particularly in the country of Belgium. And unexpectedly, Xu immediately bit the bigger bait and said that he was ready to meet with engineer Zheng in Belgium, and for the FBI, who was impersonating engineer Zheng at that time, this was the signal to launch the operation to pursue a Chinese spy. Xu ordered engineer Zheng to bring his laptop to copy the file to an external hard drive that he said he needed for a school project coming up. April 1, 2018, when Xu arrived at the designated location in Brussels, Belgium, it was well positioned, and if a normal person looked at it, no one would think that he was a high-ranking Chinese spy. As it awaits the arrival of engineer Zheng, the FBI members are moving around the location in cooperation with the Belgian police for a surprise arrest, and he was very surprised that it was not engineer Zheng who came to meet him, but American FBI agents. He was immediately arrested by the authorities along with a Chinese associate and detained for several days in Belgium. Some of what you have confessed to them is the phone. That contains 200 photos of engineer Zheng's loved ones. From his social media accounts, it is clear that the Chinese spy wants to take not only trade secrets, but also the personality of engineer David Zheng. During their investigation of Xu's phone, they found a copy of his resume at the MSS, or Ministry of State Security, where he held various sub-cabinet positions in just over 20 years. Not only that, there is also evidence gathered on his phone that also targeted other employees from large aviation companies in the US, such as Honeywell, Boeing, and Safran. After his capture in Belgium, Xu was immediately transferred to America, where he was tried in 2021. He was charged with attempted economic espionage and trade secret theft. In November 2022, he was sentenced to 20 years of imprisonment in a federal prison in America. As for engineer Zheng, he was immediately terminated by GE Aerospace in 2018. Almost at the same time as the arrest of Xu Yanjun to the FBI to prove that he released confidential information that was even brought to China without the permission of GE management. China immediately released a statement about the issue involving their spy. Of course, this is all denied, and what they say when translated into English is that the Chinese government has never participated in or supported anyone in any attempt to steal commercial secrets from anyone. They added that the US and other companies from other parts of the world are welcome to enter the Chinese market. According to FBI Director Christopher Wray, it is said that Chinese spies who are trying to gather trade secrets in different parts of the industry in the world are rampant. So, He cautions all employees of U.S. companies visiting China who bring files with them on computers. Simply connecting to the internet in China makes it possible for Chinese spies to steal information that they can use in the fields of technology and business. It is alleged that China's aspiration is not only to compete with other superpowers, but to eliminate its competitors and become the only superpower in the world.